Hello, and welcome to episode 12 of Arbiter of Worlds. If you're new to the channel, thanks for joining us. Here at Arbiter of Worlds, I share the secrets I've learned from 40 years of being a game master and 12 years of being a game designer. If you're a returning subscriber, thanks for helping me level up in YouTube. Today, I'm going to discuss why you should run long-term RPG campaigns. But since a lot of sloppy thinking originates from a lack of defining terms, before I delve into the why, I'm going to define what I mean by the phrase long-term RPG campaign. And what I mean is a continuous campaign that lasts for multiple years using a set of evolving rules in a living world. Now, there's a few key points in that definition I want to call out for special attention. First, a long-term RPG campaign does not necessarily have to feature the same players or the same characters. And in fact, it usually won't. Your campaign relies on any particular player's participation, then you've subjected it to the vagaries of fate. You cannot control this. Bob might be the most dedicated player in town, but if Bob gets hit by a car, has to move due to work, or is assassinated by story gamers, Bob will not be able to continue to game with you. And if the campaign depended on Bob, the campaign ends prematurely. Likewise, if your campaign relies on any particular character's participation, then you have to keep that character alive, which means you've removed the agency of the players. And those of you who grew up with the 1980s Dragonlance module series will remember they were rigged to prevent any of the heroes from dying. That's not the sort of campaign that can last for long for the reasons I've explained in my theories on player agency. Second, a long-term RPG campaign is not going to use the exact same rules from start to finish. As I've explained in earlier videos, your rulings in session 1 become the rules of session 2. Your rulings in session 2 become the rules of session 3, and so on. That's how game rules evolve. Rulings turning into rules in a long-term campaign is literally how the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons rules evolved. It's how RuneQuest evolved, and it's how Adventure Conquer King system evolved. The rules you start with in session 1 are going to look very different than the rules you're using in session 75, and that's okay. But they should have unbroken continuity. Think Ship of Theseus. Third, a long-term RPG campaign is a living campaign. That means that the setting, the game world, it's not static. It changes based on the course of events that are brought about by the PCs, by the NPCs, by the alignment of the cosmic spheres, whatever else impacts the game. So the setting you establish in session 1 might look very different by the time you reach session 50 or session 100, in the same way that England in 1065 AD looked different than England in 1067 AD after William the Conqueror seized it. Remember, you're not telling a story, but you are allowing a history to emerge. Now, when we lay out this definition, it becomes clear that a long-term RPG campaign is something like an entity in and of itself. It exists separately from any of the players. I want you to think of a long-term RPG campaign as like a sports franchise. Think of the New York Yankees. The rules of baseball are the RPG rules. Yankee Stadium is the campaign world. The franchise owner is the GM, and there's continuity. The rules of baseball might get tweaked by the commissioner from time to time, but it's still the New York Yankees playing baseball. Yankee Stadium might get renovated, but it's still Yankee Stadium. The players in the team roster, the position those players fill, all of that can change, and it's still the New York Yankees. On the other hand, if the Yankees get moved to Cincinnati and become the Cincinnati Yankees, then it's not the same franchise. If the Yankees start playing golf, then it's not the same franchise. Now, we're going to come back to this sports analogy next episode. It's important because becoming a player in a long-term RPG campaign has a lot of similarities to becoming a player on a sports team. Or so I've heard from people who've been on sports teams. Okay, let's turn to the why. There are actually 4 major reasons why you should run a long-term RPG campaign. The first 3 reasons are for the player's benefit. The 4th reason is for your benefit. The first reason is that it affords the players an opportunity to experience an actual hero's journey. In a long-term campaign, a player starts with a character who is just an ordinary person. And if the player plays well, they can bring their character to mythical or heroic greatness. They're not guaranteed they'll become heroes, though. That's what makes it real. Now, a lot of other entertainment offers something similar to the experience of an actual hero's journey. Novels let you vicariously experience the protagonist's journey, for instance. But it's not your journey. There's nothing you can do about how it goes. Massively multiplayer RPGs like World of Warcraft claim to offer a hero's journey, but since there's no permanent consequences, there's no permanent death, there's no real risk, and hence no real heroism. So it's not a hero's journey, it's just a treadmill. You just keep walking and watch the little meter fill up. Story games claim to offer you the opportunity to experience a hero's journey, but what they actually provide is the opportunity to tell a hero's journey. Only a long-term RPG campaign in an open world with player agency can allow you to have an actual hero's journey. Now, at this point, a critic might say, whoa, Alex, I get why open world sandbox gaming is essential to a hero's journey, but why does it have to be long-term? Why can't I have a short hero's journey? Okay, that's a fair question. It brings us to the second reason why you should be running long-term campaigns. The players can experience far greater satisfaction from long-term play. Put bluntly, that which is easily acquired is not valued. That which is hard-earned is profit. Let me illustrate this with an example. Imagine in session 1, you play a first-level character. In session 2, the GM says, "Great job, everyone. You're all advanced to 14th level." Do you feel pride in having reached 14th level? Is there a satisfaction of achievement? No, not at all. On the other hand, if you hit 14th level in session 60, and by that time, half a dozen other characters have died horribly, and every step of the way has been earned, now that's meaningful. I call this the principle of cumulative return on cumulative investment. The greater the investment you make in an RPG, the more rewarding it becomes over time. This is true for many worthwhile activities. If you take a helicopter to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, you don't get the satisfaction of climbing it. If you train for weeks to make the trek and then you hit that summit, that becomes something special. Okay, at this point, our critic might say, well, the problem with a long journey is that it gets repetitive. I don't want to be doing the same thing for 100 sessions. I get gaming ADD and I want a new setting and new rules. A lot of people feel that way. Again, this is a fair point. But it brings us to the third reason why long-term campaigns are special. Long-term campaigns are the only type of campaign that allow you to experience cumulative return on cumulative investment over a variety of modes of play. If you constantly switch campaigns and systems, you might get to try different modes of gameplay, but you can never get invested in them in the same cumulative long-term way. Let me give an example here again. Let's imagine you start a new RPG, and the GM says, you're the ruler of this kingdom. Okay, cool. That's a cool premise. You haven't done a kingdom-ruling RPG before. It's going to be fun. And the GM says, the kingdom is being invaded by the Dark Lord. Okay, that's a cool premise. That sounds fun. Then in session 2, you make a terrible decision, and your kingdom's destroyed. So what? You weren't invested in the kingdom. You didn't build it. You did nothing to earn it. And losing it has the emotional impact of losing a first-level character in old-school D&D, which is to say, it has no impact at all. And now imagine that at session 80 of a campaign, in this kingdom, you entered it as a first-level mercenary. Then you became a veteran, you grew in power, and finally you conquered it with blood and iron over dozens of sessions, and you finally become king. And then when the GM says, the Dark Lord is invading your kingdom, it's personal. It's on. This is your kingdom, and it matters. And so you get that experience of the new mode of play, of the domain play, but it matters so much more than if you had just played a game that started you with domain play in the short term. Now, our critic can say, most games don't support multiple modes of play. You just do the same thing every session. And you know what? Our critic is right. For this to be true, for what I'm saying to be true, the game system you use has to be able to afford you multiple modes of play. And nowadays, most of them don't. 99% of all tabletop RPGs that are designed today fall into one of two categories. Either they're designed for one-offs and very short campaigns, or they're designed for medium-length campaigns where you grind from level 1 to level X doing the same things at every level, just with more hit points. Very few RPGs have been thoughtfully designed for long-term campaigns in living worlds with varieties of modes of play. And of those, only a few of them have even been designed in the last few years. There's my own game, Adventure of Conquer the King system. There's Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. There's BECMI Dungeons and Dragons. Then there's Ars Magica, Classic Traveler, Pendragon, maybe a few others. It is a short list. And if you're serious about wanting to run a long-term campaign, which you should, then you either need to invest in one of those systems, or you need to be willing to write a lot of additional rules for your system of choice. Either way, it's a lot of work, but that brings us to the final reason why you should run long-term campaigns. You should do so for your own satisfaction. The experience of running a long-term campaign is glorious. Successfully running a long-term RPG campaign is the greatest achievement you can unlock as a game master. It is the arete, the excellence of GM. You think about the great long-term campaigns, Greyhawk, Blackmoor, Glorantha, Forgotten Realms, Ardenweald, Wilderlands. They ran for decades, and they literally changed the way people thought about fantasy and gaming. Now, not to go like all Iliad, but if you want your work as a GM to be remembered forever by your players, an amazing long-term campaign is how you achieve it. Okay, that sums up my case for why you should run long-term RPG campaigns. Next week, I'm going to explain how you do it. In the meantime, be sure to check out my actual play series, The Grey Brotherhood, if you haven't already. But not before you hit that like and subscribe button so the YouTube algorithm loves me. See you next week.